Hi, my name is Jeremiah Grazza, and I was the owner of Cobra Arcade, and I am currently the owner of Thunderbird Lounge and will be the owner of Thundercat Lounge. What got me into entrepreneurship? The short answer is I don't like working for other people. That's one answer. So why did I go into business for myself? Why did I become an entrepreneur? So being in the music industry for over 12 years, I learned to realize that the money that you made in concerts was not as the promoter. It was as the venue, and more specifically, it was from the alcohol sales of those concerts. I decided that why don't I just cut the middleman, and instead of owning a venue and doing the concerts, I would just open up a bar. The profit margins are generally pretty good, and so I decided to take a risk and open a couple of bars. I first decided to open Cobra Arcade because when I was 16, I worked at a video arcade. I love video games. I've got Game Over tattooed on my knuckles. I've got video game tattoos on my back. I'm a huge retro video gamer. This was about 5 years ago. There were other arcade bars opening up across the country in New York, LA, Chicago, and had proved that it was a viable thing that you could do in a major metropolitan city. I had the idea of opening a video game bar, and so did another person in town who was my partner at the time. And from there, I had reached out to the person I had bought, who had helped me find my house, to see if he knew of any commercial real estate that he could help me find to open a video game bar. So I didn't buy the building, I was looking to lease at the time. He introduced me to somebody I had already known who owned a bunch of property. He had owned the building that was Lux Coffee Shop. He had owned the building that was the Vig, Gracie's. He helped with Crescent Ballroom. So he really knew what he was doing as far as properties and bars and restaurants went. And he just happened to have a property available, so looked awesome. And we're like, all right, let's do this. So that's how that kind of started. I eventually ended up selling my half of that to open up my own space because, once again, working with a partner was fine, but I realized I kind of wanted to do something more myself. I decided to start looking for another property for my next concept. And that took about 3 years, because as they say in real estate, it's all about location, 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 location. I knew that from previous experience that I wanted to open a business that would be close by where I live. In case there was anything wrong, I could just come down and help out. So I looked within a 1 to 2 mile radius of my house as to where I could find a spot, and God, we must have looked at 15, 20 spots before we found what ended up being Thunderbird Lounge. Me and one of my partners for Thunderbird went for a walk. We saw a handwritten note on a door that said space available, call this number. Walked around the back, looked at the backyard, looked like it would be a nice spot, kind of tucked away in the neighborhood. And so we called the number, and the landlord said, sorry, I just rented it out. We let her know, hey, we really like the space. If for some reason something falls through, give us a call and let us know. So we kept looking. About a month later, she gave us a call and said, hey, the lease didn't work out. Are you guys still interested in the spot? And we said, yeah. So we came, we looked at the spot, and we agreed to do a lease where Thunderbird Lounge is now. In an ideal situation, would love to own the property and the building, but that's not always feasible, mostly for financial reasons. Property in Phoenix is very expensive and is only on the rise, especially if you want a good location, and we specifically wanted to be in the Melrose district. My newest concept, Thundercat Lounge, once again, trying to find my own building, and this time possibly owning the building instead of leasing. So once again, I worked with the property manager for Cobra Arcade. He had recently purchased another new spot and said, hey, would you be interested in this spot? I said yes. We are working out a deal that eventually I have the option that I can buy the building, and then that way he still gets some rent and then I can own the building. Either way, it's a good friend and it's a good situation. Prior to Cobra and Thunderbird, I had zero experience owning and operating my own business. I had done small things previously. I had ran my own promotion company. I had run my own record label. I had been the director of operations for a large company. But as far as owning a bar, I never owned a bar. As far as bartending goes, I had little experience. I was a martini-specific bartender at a martini bar in Phoenix called My Florist Cafe, and we literally had just like 15 different martinis we made, and that was all we made. So I didn't have a whole lot of experience bartending, but I'm pretty good with math and I'm pretty good with numbers. Like I said, the profit margins on alcohol seemed to be good, and I had known from my experience in the live music industry that was where you made your sales. You made all of your money on your alcohol. You didn't make it on the tickets. You didn't make it on putting on the concert. You made your money on the alcohol sales. I decided, well, let's just cut out the middleman and open a bar. And obviously I'd been to plenty of neighborhood bars my whole life growing up. The way I personally develop my venue concepts is, first and foremost, build a place that you would want to go to and where you think other people would want to go to. Like I said, with Cobra Arcade, I already had a love for arcade games. I had worked at arcades. I love retro gaming. So I knew then and there I would like to open a bar that had arcade games, because that's where would I want to go? That's where I would want to go. Whenever I went to New York or Chicago or LA, the first place I visited were these arcade bars. You kind of bounce the idea off some friends and maybe people you trust in the industry. Say, hey, I'm thinking about open an arcade bar. What do you think? You know, is that something you'd go to? And people will be honest with you, and they'll go, you're crazy. I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to go to that. And be like, dude, that'd be awesome. I'd love to go to that. As far as Thunderbird Lounge goes, I grew up in the Midwest in Illinois. And in the Midwest, everyone has a basement, and a lot of people's basements are turned into basement bars. And I knew living in Phoenix, there were a lot of Midwest transplants. So I thought that there would be a good demographic of people who either grew up going to either having a basement in their house, or their friend's house had a basement, and now they live in Arizona, and there would be a little bit of nostalgic feel to it. I also have a love for mid-century modern design, and the Melrose district in general, where we were opening Thunderbird, had a love for mid-century modern design. A lot of the antique and vintage stores in Melrose sell a lot of mid-century modern furniture and fixtures. In fact, a lot of our lighting fixtures that we got at Thunderbird Lounge, we purchased in the Melrose district at some of those vintage shops. So from there, it was kind of laying out the design work. Thankfully, in high school and college, I took drafting and I took some architecture courses, and so I had some experience doing blueprints and layouts and design. And I had a very, very clear, specific vision in my head as to what I wanted. I knew what I wanted the floors to look like. I knew what I wanted the walls to look like. I knew what I wanted the ceilings to look like. I knew what I wanted the lighting fixtures to look like. You know, same thing. I just kind of ran the idea by some people, and I'm like, hey, you know, I'm thinking about opening in this mid-century modern, Midwest, basement vibe kind of bar. What do you think? And of course, being in the neighborhood, a lot of people were like, oh, that would be amazing. That'd be great. So we decided to roll with it. And thankfully, other people liked my idea as well. And we took off. Now, with the new concept with Thundercat, kind of goes back to a little bit of the Cobra, where I had the love for the video games. I also have a huge love for the late 80s and early 90s. I was born in 1982, and I love all things Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice, Gremlins, Back to the Future, and Blade Runner. And I wanted to do a 1980s, 1990s venue that would be a sister concept to the 70s venue that we already have, Thunderbird Lounge. Obviously playing off of the nostalgia of the cartoon show Thundercats, it's inspired, but also kind of playing off Thunderbird, Thundercat. Thought it would work well for an 80s concept. So for that, we're doing a bunch of neon lights, we're doing a Star Wars light tunnel, we're doing a Blade Runner inspired private Japanese style karaoke room. We're having lots of glass block, and it's gonna feel like your time warped to the 1980s. A lot of people tell writers, write what you know. As far as my experience from opening bars, open what you know. I knew retro video games, I knew mid-century modern, I knew late 80s, early 90s. I also have plenty of other concepts I want to open too. But as far as use that creativity in any art form, whether it's art or music, writing songs, write what you know, writing poetry, write what you know, writing, opening a bar, open a bar how you know. In this day and age, it's not good enough to just have a space. No one wants to go somewhere that's boring. You need to create a destination, especially for a generation that is now growing up on social media, that has grown up on MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. No one's going to go to a boring hole in the wall. People want experiences, and I think your job as an entrepreneur is to give people those experiences. At Cobra, the experience was playing video games. At Thunderbird, the experience is a little bit of playing video games. It's also a love for mid-century modern. It's a nostalgia for people who did grow up in that era, but also people who have seen that era on television and movies. There's a sense of warmth that comes with nostalgia and makes you want to go, and also makes you want to be there, but also maybe makes you want to take pictures there. Thunderbird Lounge was specifically built with Instagram in mind. TikTok wasn't really a thing yet, but it was built with Instagram in mind. We put a mechanical horse in the front of the building because we knew people would want to take a picture on the horse. We wrapped the cactus with Christmas lights because we knew people would want to take a picture of the cactus and Christmas lights. We put mid-century modern furniture in the venue because we knew people would enjoy it and would want to take pictures with it, which just also helps with self-promotion for the business as well. Believe it or not, we have never spent a dime on marketing and promotion. All marketing has been organic, and that comes from guerrilla marketing as an independent concert promoter. When I first started making concerts, I made my own flyers in Microsoft Word and Microsoft Paint. I would print it out on my printer, I would take it to Kinko's, I would copy 4 of them, I would cut them with scissors, and I would personally hand them out to people. I would make phone calls and say, hey, I'm having a concert tonight, you should come on down. When MySpace and Facebook came around, we would make events, and I would send out invites to people saying, hey, I've got this concert. So I had many, many years of guerrilla marketing, and the beauty of social media is that it is free and you don't have to pay for it. It doesn't cost you anything to create an Instagram account. It doesn't cost you anything to create a Facebook account. It doesn't cost you anything to create a TikTok account. This is all free for you to do. So why not utilize that to your ability? As a 40-year-old man, I did not know the ins and outs of Instagram before, but I feel I do very well now. And it just took a little bit of research. What are the best days to post? What are the best times to post? What content does well? What hashtags do well? What do people want to see? And obviously that changes over time. With a little bit of research and a lot of hard work, we were able to grow our Instagram account to, I think it's at like 16,000 right now, without spending a dime. Also, like I said, we had specifically built the space to be Instagrammable. We knew that people would want to take pictures here and share those pictures, and thankfully our assumption was correct. When you build a space that other people like, people will talk about it. We were lucky within the first year that we were open, we were named one of the best bars in Phoenix by Eater. We were named one of the best bars in Phoenix by Thrillist. We were named Best New Bar by the Phoenix New Times. We were named Best 70s Time Capsule by Phoenix Magazine. We were also in USA Today, Washington Post, The Kelly Clarkson Show. Once again, that's all free. We didn't pay for that. So we built something that people liked it, and people started talking about it naturally and organically. Now that doesn't happen for everyone, and that doesn't happen every time you do something. But I think if you put your heart and soul into something and you do something right, it shows, and I think people see that and appreciate that. At this point now, we have a public relations company who fields all media requests, who has stock photos, has our bios, knows how to answer most social media requests because we get a lot of them. So our PR company at this point handles that now. At the beginning, I did all of it myself. As far as the social media, the Instagram and the Facebook, I still handle that all myself every single day. When I first decided to open Thunderbird Lounge, I did not want to have music here. And the reason being was my day job, I still deal with live music all day, every day. I've been booking concerts since 2001. The last thing I wanted to do was deal with live music at my space. Now, with that said, there's still, especially with a bar, there's plenty of other things that you can do. We have trivia every single Tuesday. We have bingo every single Thursday. We have DJs every Friday and Saturday. We do drag shows once a month. We've done karaoke in the past. And a lot of these things are very typical for a bar. Lots of bars have trivia, lots of bars have karaoke, lots of bars have DJs. Once the pandemic hit, things kind of changed. People weren't able to go to concerts anymore, especially indoor concerts. This created a space for people to start doing live music outside in an open environment. There was a couple in the Willow district of Phoenix who were doing concerts on their front porch, and they would have some artists play acoustic on their front porch, and their neighbors would sit in their front yard and watch the concert. Eventually, that neighborhood association didn't want those concerts there anymore. And so we decided at that time, well, hey, we have a 4,000 square foot backyard. Why don't we offer up our space for these concerts? Figured it would help these people who were doing something good for the neighborhood, putting on these free concerts in a time when there were no concerts. People, Valley Bar was closed, Rebel was closed, Crescent was closed, Van Buren was closed. So we decided to offer up that space, and it was a win-win. People came, they hung out, they drank, people got to see live music, we were helping the community. We saw that there was a demand for music in an outdoor setting. So we decided that we would continue booking some live music at Thunderbird Lounge. It wasn't going to be an everyday thing. We weren't going to be a music venue. It would be occasionally, and we would keep it to mostly Sundays because we already had programming on other days, and that's when our neighbors were closed and we didn't really want to impede on our neighbors. Since then, we've done live music on Sundays and the neighborhood has enjoyed it. You know, one of the things that we have prided ourselves on here at Thunderbird Lounge is, especially with a recession or near recession, is that everything we do is free to the public. The trivia nights are free. The bingo is free. The drag shows are free. The DJs are free. The concerts are free. And all of the video games are free. Because essentially we are here for the neighborhood and we want to provide fun entertainment. I don't need people to pay to come to the concert. I don't need people to pay to come to the bingo or pay to play the video games. We're a bar and they're going to be here to drink. And that's ultimately our business model, is to have people here to drink. That's why you open a bar. Risk can be defined in a lot of different ways. How do you mitigate financial risk? You know, you set your alcohol prices accordingly. You promote the events that you have and try to get butts in seats. I think the best way to mitigate risk is to be nimble and go with the flow. This comes from many years of being in the live music industry, is that you never know what's going to happen. A band can get a flat tire and be an hour late, or a band can get arrested and not even show up for the gig. You can have an outside concert and have a thunderstorm and just ruin everything. It's how you react to those situations is how you succeed. The first year we opened, as a small business, your reviews are very important. Your Google reviews, your Yelp reviews. When the very first year we opened, we got a 2-star review because somebody saw a man in a black dress and heels playing cornhole and gave us a 2-star review. Well, one, we're in the Melrose District. Melrose District is the LGBTQ plus district of Phoenix. We welcome that explicitly. We decided to flip that script and throw a drag cornhole tournament and raise money for a local LGBTQ plus organization. We took that bad review and we said, how can we make this work for us? And it was a huge success, and we were able to raise $1,500 for the Human Rights Campaign of Arizona. And now it's become a tradition that we do every single year. The last year we were able to raise money for Equality Arizona, and this year we're raising money for the Phoenix Pride Community Alliance. Another example is COVID. No one saw COVID coming. One of the reasons I opened a bar is, for the most part, bars are recession-proof. Whether you have money and you're doing great, or you don't have money and you're not doing great, people will still go to a bar. people can't go to a bar when they're not allowed to leave their house and your business is forced to close, there's nothing you can do about it. No one foresaw that coming, especially for a year one business. We had been open for 9 months. We didn't even make it 1 year. We were open 9 months before we were forced to shut down for 6 months. How does a business survive that? Well, obviously we applied for PPP loans. We applied for grants and funding. That helped a little bit, but we said, what can we do to stay afloat? What can we do to keep paying our employees? They still had rent to pay. We decided that, hey, we have a bunch of toilet paper. We're going to do to-go orders because we're still allowed to do to-go orders. We would do to-go orders and we would give out free rolls of toilet paper. We thought it was kind of funny. You know, there was a toilet paper shortage. We also thought it would be a nice and good thing to do for the community. Thankfully, that caught the attention of Fox News, which led up to USA Today, which led up to Kelly Clarkson finding out about it and inviting us on her show to talk about how we were giving out free toilet paper to the community with orders. That kind of helped keep us alive. We also commissioned some local artists to do some designs, and we made some limited edition posters. We made some limited edition merchandise that we sold online to try to make some money and mitigate that risk of being forced to shut down. You know, I think really it's doing the best you can, because you, as a business owner, you never know what's going to happen. I think you can try to be as prepared as possible. Thankfully, we had saved the money we had made in those 9 months and had not spent it, and that was able to float us for the next 6 months without being forced to shut down. We were very financially conservative with the money that we had earned and had not squandered that. And I think that's key for any small business, especially within your first 5 years, making good financial decisions, making sure you're not just wasting money on anything. So for Cobra Arcade and for Thunderbird Lounge, I had reached out to different people about investing in the project. I had come up with the numbers as to how much it was going to cost to open, operate, and run it for 5 years, what the rent was going to be, what the product was going to be, what the construction and build out was going to be, what the inventory and supply was going to be, what labor was going to be, and we put together a financial plan that I took to a few people that I thought might be interested in investing in the project. And thankfully, every single person that I took the idea to and took the number to loved the idea and was willing to invest. With Cobra Arcade, every single person that invested made their return on investment in the first year. That was very important to me, to make sure that anyone who had given me money was going to get that money back, so that when I did a second project, they would be willing to invest again. And they did. All of the same people who had invested in me in Cobra Arcade invested in me for Thunderbird Lounge and are helping invest in me in Thundercat Lounge. Me personally, I took every single dime I owned on the planet. I cashed out my 401k from my day job. I took all the money from my savings account. I maxed out my credit card. I took a lien on my house and maxed that out. I took my record collection down to Zia Records and I sold a few $1,000s worth of records. And I took everything I owned and I invested it in myself. Because if you're not willing to invest in yourself, why are other people going to invest in you as well? Thankfully, with Cobra, I made my money back. And with Thunderbird Lounge, I made my money back. And hopefully with Thundercat, I make my money back as well. I found my investors to be friends, people I have known for many, many years, business acquaintances, people I have worked with for many, many years. A lot of people want to invest in something. People put their money in the stock market. People put their money in property. People invest their money in a whole plethora of ways. Investing it in your friends and family and community is just another way to invest your money. If you show that what you have done in the past is successful and you can show on paper that what you're projecting should be successful, hopefully those people invest in you and your ideas. Hopefully you make enough money to pay those people off and have them make a little return on their money. If you're in college, your fraternity brothers or sisters are a great resource for investors. That's kind of what a fraternity is. It's a brotherhood or a sisterhood, and you help each other out. I didn't have a fraternity, but I had a fraternity of friends. I had close friends who believed in my ideas, who were willing to say, hey, I'm going to put a chance on you, and hopefully it pays off. And thankfully it did. What skills should you try to develop if you want to open your own business? Experience, just doing it. I think as far as a bar or venue goes, yeah, I had been drinking at a neighborhood bar since I was 21. I'm 40 years old. I've been to bars for the past 20 years. I know bars. I know what's in a bar. I know what I want to see in a bar. I know what kind of bar I would want to go to. Now, I think that kind of goes for anything. If you really like comic books and you read comic books every week and you really know comic books, try opening a comic book store. If you really know cameras and film and you have a passion for this and you know the ins and outs of like, this is a good camera, open a camera store. Do what you know, I think is the first thing. I knew bars. I had been drinking at bars for 20 years. I knew live entertainment. I've been involved in live entertainment for 12 years. I knew how to book a trivia night, a bingo night, a drag show. I knew how to book DJs. I knew how to market and promote those because I had experience marketing and promoting concerts. All of your previous life experience leads up to what you're going to do if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to open a business for yourself. It's finding that passion, finding what you like to do, and doing it. If you like what you do, they say you'll never work another day in your life. I mean, I easily spend 70 hours a week focused on Thunderbird and Thundercat. Do I consider it work? Sometimes, but for a lot of part, I really enjoy what I do. I enjoy making the Instagram posts. I enjoy finding the arcade games. I enjoy putting the music on the jukebox. I enjoy putting together fun events that I think people would want to go to. Doing a pumpkin carving party, doing a gingerbread house making party, bringing this DJ that I like, throwing an 80s themed Halloween party or New Year's Eve party. I enjoy that. You really need to take the experiences and take what you have a passion for and use that to build on doing something yourself, whether that be opening your own venue or opening your own store or doing any sort of business for yourself. I can give you a couple of examples. I've had friends who have said, their dream was to start a moving business. But hey, it's not my dream, But if that's your dream, more power to you. You know, go buy a used U-Haul. Go buy a box truck. Paint it. Start an Instagram page. Start helping people move and say, all right, this is what I charge per hour. You can do that in anything. I have a friend who has a passion for filming and for video editing. And how do you get started in that? Baby steps. Everyone has an iPhone. You can start filming with an iPhone. You can go buy a green sheet at a fabric store and you can hang it in your bedroom and you can start filming. And you can look up YouTube videos on how to edit and you can download free software. And then once you start building those skills, you can do more. You can buy a nicer camera. You can buy some audio equipment. You can buy some lighting equipment. And the more you do it, the better you become at your skill and craft. Then it can turn into a business. It can turn into something that you make money on. My wife, she has a passion for vintage and antique books. She loves old books. And she goes to Goodwills and Savers. And she's been doing this for a decade. And she knows what she's doing, and she finds a pre-1950s hardbound first edition for 50 cents. And she has a bookstore where she can go ahead and sell it for $100. That's not her main source of income, but she makes money from it. And she does it because she enjoys it and she likes it. I think for anyone going into business for yourself, you've got to do something you enjoy and you like doing. Otherwise, why are you doing it? You've got to work harder than anyone else. I mean, you've got to be willing to work 80 hours a week for 20 hours a week worth of pay and gamble. You got to gamble on yourself and hope that it pays off. It doesn't pay off for everyone, but thankfully if you have the skills behind yourself, you have the experience, you're dedicated, you work hard, and you have a little bit of good luck, it can go your way.